When NASCAR announced just a few years ago that they would be replacing their playoff race at Charlotte Motor Speedway with a new road course at the track, fans were both excited not just at the announcement, but with the racing that would eventually play out there in real life. Unless those fans have been members of iRacing since before that first Roval race, or die-hard IMSA fans, they would most likely not know that Charlotte has always claimed some road course racing at their track, albeit mostly with local track day fanatics instead of Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. With the aid of the virtual world, we are privileged to travel back in time to what was once the road course here, which enables us to welcome you to round 4 of the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford Series. Up in the booth today will be yours truly, Nick Schmeg, and I'm joined by Ryan Walker. Joe Peak will be directing behind the scenes today, and as always, he'll be using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. You'll be seeing all the action live today on GSRC via the iRacing Esports Network. While many fans here are in tune with today's Charlotte Roval, not everyone is familiar with the bumpy character and fun personality this version has. So to help you get a better look at the track, here is the GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Until a few years ago, most race fans probably didn't know that this track had a road course layout. But this unique little Roval has been around long before NASCAR revamped it, and that older version is what our drivers are racing on today. Situated in the northeast corner of Charlotte, North Carolina, there's 2 different road course layouts to choose from. One includes the oval, while the other is strictly limited to the infield. Like most Rovals, the high-speed banking on the oval portion takes up a majority of the lap length. However, one unique feature that isn't often seen on other Rovals is that this track includes a decent amount of elevation change. Passing tends to be difficult in the infield, so most drivers utilize the slipstream around the banking. If that doesn't work, there's also the heavy braking down into the first turn. Just beware, because the outside wall in the exit is notorious for gobbling up cars. The infield itself is pretty narrow in this older version, so it's not uncommon for cars to put a wheel off into the dirt and be sent spinning. While it's not as flashy or as polished as the updated Roval, one thing is for sure: it provides some wild action and almost never disappoints the fans in the stands.
And there you see a better look at what is now known as the legacy version of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We've got a very interesting track on hand today, Ryan, so help our viewers describe the track just a little bit better for us today.
So yeah, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's located in Concord, North Carolina, and today we will be using the road course layout, and this track has 12 turns, and the length of the track is 2.25 miles in length, or 3.62 kilometers if you prefer to use that. And just a brief or a short history about the track. As we know, it hosts or has hosted NASCAR in the past, and also in the late 90s and early 2000s it was host to the old American Le Mans series that used to race here as well. So there's been several series that raced here in the past, and it's always produced great racing. And I think tonight with the Weekend Warriors, as always, we won't expect anything less.
Yeah, it's going to be very fun for sure. And as always, the Weekend Warrior series is brought to you by SimStickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they have you covered. And now if you use the promo code GSRC10, that's GSRC10, when purchasing, you're going to get 10% off all orders for the whole season. You can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. Ryan, some of those drivers that'll be vying for contention in the championship, things are heating up as the season moves along. We're still early, though, but that doesn't mean we don't have some points to look at.
Yeah, the Spec 1 Championship has been pretty close this season so far, but at the moment it's been led by Maurizio Naselli, who seems to be the man that's taking the challenge to David Gaspers. And in second place we've got Larry McLeod, and then rounding out the top 3 is Michael Dobek, who took a fantastic podium result at Donington Park last week. And then we've got Tim Van Dormelen in 4th, and then Antonio Reyes rounds out the top 5. So a pretty interesting top 5 we've got in the Spec 1 class.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap, but things in the Spec 2 series, in the Spec 2 points, they got very interesting last week as well at Donington. Aaron Vageley on top, but Tom Gradwell, 29 points back. Dominique Bureau and Erwin Rotkrins, who had an outstanding race at Donington, he has found his way up into the top 5 as well. He's 45 points back. Richard Franco as well, just making the graphic 55 points out of the thing. But like I said, it's still very early in the season. So things looking pretty good as we move along here in the Weekend Warriors. We also have some race details to go over, Ryan, and I believe you've got those.
So the details for this series, for anyone tuning in for the first time or is unsure about it today, this is round 4 of 12, and as always the setups are open, so you're free to change anything, but the fuel limit is limited, so you will have to make a mandatory pit stop. The race length, as always, for this series is 40 minutes, and then the points are rationed from 100 down to 25 points, and the incidence is -3 points for every 10 incidents, or 10 off tracks, whatever the case. So if you get any of them, you will get -3 points, which could affect you big time in the championship. And as always, if you make a mistake or crash the car, you will get one fast repair and a brand new car.
Absolutely, it's what those drivers are going to have to be looking out for. As always, you're watching this live coverage on the iRacing Esports Network as we see qualifying commence right now. iRacing Esports Network, great place to find all of your stay-at-home entertainment. We've seen a boom in both oval and road course racing. If you can't decide, we've got a great compromise for you today at the Roval. Weather always plays a factor here as well, Ryan. It looks like we've got a fairly hot track out there today. It's going to be very interesting with such banking here.
Yeah, absolutely. The track temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that could affect the grip of the track. So a hot track and hot track conditions, these tyres around here, even though the Spec Racer Ford's not really that quick, these tyres could still possibly take a pounding.
And we're privileged today to bring you some extra company up in the booth. League Administrator of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Series, Stevie Ray. We normally see him behind the wheel, but today we've got him behind the microphone. Stevie, it's good to have you here, and this has to be a fun race for you to be watching, to not be in the car for.
Hey guys, good to be here. Good to see everybody. We were a little bit limited on our entry numbers for the week, so I thought I haven't been able to run yet, and I asked the guys if you'd run 2 out of the 3 to go ahead and get in early, and 1 or less to give the guys a chance, and they did that. We're at 41 of the 43 available, I think, so it looks like everybody that wanted to got in, so I'm happy about that. And I thought since I hadn't run any, I would come up here and visit with you guys in the booth a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to have you up here, and it's good to have the 43 drivers down on track as well. They're all putting in some great times, very competitive times here in qualifying. Miroslav Juracek on top of the board now with David Gaspers and Maurizio Naselli separated by just a whisker for second and third place. You can see on the left side of your screen there. Steve, one thing I do want to ask you about, you know this car better than the rest of us here in the booth by a long shot. This track is so unique, and it's got to pose some unique challenges as well. What are those challenges that these drivers are going to have to be looking out for today?
The infield section gets a little bumpy at times, coming out of the corners and going through. You got some bumpy areas to kind of watch, and that can really throw the car off balance. Then you get out onto the oval section, and they have a very strong draft capability. So somebody that's back a second and a half or even maybe a little bit more will pull right up on you going into turn 1, and that's when it really gets interesting.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch for that draft today for sure, but you can't be so reliant on the draft that you disregard the infield section. That is going to be where you have a make or break race situation. It's going to be very interesting to see just how drivers balance their speed and their pace in the infield, as well as their drafting pack racing capabilities almost on the oval. It's going to be a fun one for sure today. 43 drivers on track. You can see Erwin Rotkranz coming off his great race last week at Donington. He's got a big toe here. That is sure going to help you in qualifying. He is currently your Spec 2 pole sitter with a little bit of drafting help there from Michael Shaw, who sits just ahead of him in 6th. And this right here, where they're coming into right now, this is my #1 danger zone I have written down in my notes. Turn 1 here is terrifying. They call it heartburn turn for a reason on the new circuit, and it is terrifying. You have to treat it almost like a street circuit because of the wall there.
Yeah, absolutely. This track is sort of, yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like an American version of coming down that straight anyway into turn one. It's kind of like a mini version of the Monaco in a way, just because of the walls are so close in the exit. So you've got to be really careful and not push too much into turn one. If you carry too much speed, it'll just bite you and you'll end up flicking the outside wall.
Just on screen, you see Maurizio Naselli. And Steve, this is something I was wondering as well with the car. The transition onto the banking here, that's got to be unsettling. That can damage the car, I would imagine, the under tray of the car. You got to be careful how you get back up on the track.
Yeah, I think you'll see several cars with that right front corner damaged just a little bit. There you see him on track right now with the right front damage. That's most likely when they come from the infield section up onto the oval.
Yeah, and all the aero damage here, that's not going to be great in the draft. They're going to have to be careful. Don't want to tear your car up too much. Like Ryan said, we've got a 40-minute race today. That is a long time to keep your car intact here at Charlotte.
The only way they're going to be able to avoid that right front damage is come up onto the oval at a little bit more of an angle. But a lot of times they're really pushing it and just pound it up there.
Yeah, they've got cones down there on the apron as well, the apron of the NASCAR portion of this track, to keep you from cheating too badly. Got just a few minutes left in qualifying. Drivers trying to find time here. The rest of the top five I didn't mention: Hugh Haycox and Tim Van Doramelen. Still watching Maurizio Naselli down the back. He's all by himself here. That's not going to help him too much, but he's sitting in third, so he had to have made it work somehow. Very close times between this whole field, but especially the podium. Just 6/1000ths difference between David Gasper's back to Maurizio Naselli, second and third. There's Gasper's now. He's got Jonathan Madden behind him. He's sitting back in 19th, but depending on how well he can get a toe here on the oval, that might bump up just a few tenths.
Jonathan Madden, made his return to the series last week at Donington, and then he was having a great race for most of it until his pit stop, and unfortunately ended up having issues. And in return, we had a great battle for the win going on, and in the end, it was Hugh Haycox taking the win. A well-deserved one, I have to say, and again, seems to be carrying on that form in qualifying at the moment, sitting in P4.
Madden's got a good lap here, it looks like. He's able to slingshot, and indeed it is. He moves up 6 positions, up to 13th, about 2 tenths quicker that time. This is going to be one of those races, I would imagine, where passing, track position might not be as important as we see at other tracks. If you start further back down the field, Ryan, I would imagine you'd be able to slingshot your way forward with a little bit of finesse and just being a little careful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that twisty section, you could be in front of someone and after turn one, but coming onto this long banking on the back straight, if you stick with someone, you could get a good slipstream on them, and also you get a good run and make a pass on them heading down into turn one. So I think the slipstream is going to matter a lot around here today, and I think also with the slipstream you'll be able to fuel save as well.
Fuel saving also a good thing to point out. They are on a limited tank, 35% fuel load. And that is definitely going to be something to watch for here, because if you are tucked behind the car in front of you, you're not going to be going as fast if you don't pull out and make a slingshot. Like we see Jonathan Madden practicing on David Gasper's right there. But you are going to be able to save fuel, and Madden actually moves into the top 10 with that lap. He moves up another 1/10 of a second, a 1:20.6. He's up to P9 now.
Yeah, he managed to get the slipstream off of Gaspers again, and Madden up into the top 10 in P9. And yeah, the surprise for me in qualifying, I'm just looking at further back up at the front. It has to be Adam Bradshaw in P4 and also Michael Shaw in P7. So good to see those guys having a great qualifying at the moment.
Probably just one more lap for some of these drivers. Steve, you're telling us that these drivers are not just fighting for bragging rights. There might be a little extra on the line this season.
Yeah, David Gaspers put up some money for the season, and for anybody that can stay within 50 points or place ahead of him for the championship season, he's going to pay a little bit of money. So there's a little bit on the line here.
Yeah, I'd say it's always nice to get a little bit of a payday for your hard work on the track. Might go into explaining such tight times up at the top of the board here. Everyone wanting a shot at that. Miroslav Juracek, your current pole sitter in the 84 car. Making his way around. Nope, no chicane there. Looks like just a couple more drivers. Kenneth Bately's come down to the pit lane. That might just do it. Taking a look around the track. I see Steven Elson in turn 3. I'm not sure if he made that lap in time. But it looks like he did. He's currently sitting in 14th, but he's going to come in the pits as well. So that'll do it. Let's quickly run down our full lineup here. 43 cars. Miroslav Juracek, he's going to have the pole. He's going to be starting alongside David Gaspers in the 1. Row 2 going to be made up of Maurizio Nasilli and Adam Bradshaw. Hugh Haycox and Tim Van Dormelen are going to be making up row 3 behind them. 7th and 8th place are going to go to Michael Shaw, and Erwin Rotkrins will be your Spec 2 pole sitter once again. Jonathan Madden and Ed Doherty are going to round out your top 10.
Starting in 11th is William Ferry, alongside him in 12th is Chris Murakami, 13th is Ian Haycox, and in 14th is Stephen Elson, Kurt Nunez in 15th, Larry McLeod will start in 16th, and alongside him in 17th is Michael Dobek, 18th will be Yangtze Lin, 19th will be Simon Mayer, and starting in 20th will be Jim McGill.
Behind them, Jeff Jacobson and the New Yorker Bob Kern in the 6th, 21st and 22nd. Row number 12 going to go to Emil Orza and Antonio Reese. Dominic Bureau going to be rounding out the top 25. Aaron Vagley will be alongside him. Row 14 will be Nico Schuch and Kenneth Bately in the 222 machine. 29th and 30th are going to go to Jeff Cantor and Dan Babick.
31st is Paolo Brem. Jerry McAreevy, quite surprisingly, starts in 32nd. 33rd is Paul Jackson. 34th is Tom Gradwell, and the 35th will be Brian D. Short. 36th is Fred Desai. 37th is Frank Rodesty. 38th is Paul Barbaza. 39th is Richard Franco, and starting 40th is Gary Wilbolt.
Rounding out your 43 drivers, everyone putting up a time here. Matt Stawecki in the 25 and Glenn Powley. Samuel Dick had some problems in qualifying, so that will be a last place starting position for him that he's going to have to work with. Cars and drivers gridding up here all across from the start finish line back into NASCAR 4 and 3. Thankfully, we're going to have a rolling start though in this series as always, so they're not going to have to worry about that banking. All the drivers gridding up. Big field. Gonna have to watch out for turn 1. Ryan, that seems like, I already mentioned it's a danger zone, but it's also, I think, the narrowest part of the track.
Yeah, absolutely. From my experience racing around here, the turn 1 is definitely the narrowest of tracks, or the narrowest of corners, I should say. So these drivers are going to have to be very careful at the start of the race, and yeah, I just wanted to quickly ask Steve as well, with these races, what sort of strategy, from your experience, would you use or have you used? Do you prefer to take it courses, or do you prefer to go for it from the off?
I think I usually try to tuck in line and just try to follow the group. I don't think I like being up front in this, at least till the end, but just hang around and try to at least draft up there in the lead group to have a chance.
Definitely going to be a lot of different strategies. You can get a better look at the track here on the pace lap. This is turns 2 and 3. Kind of, I think that was a parking lot at the time this was scanned in the infield. So there's a big change in the camber down there. If you hit that, I guess you would call it the apron, you can lose a lot of ground here. And then here, Ryan, there's also these dirt mounds that are kind of the curbs here, but you will actually get an off track for hitting them. That's something you got to watch out for. You can't be too greedy with the space on track.
Yeah, around these parts of the tracks, you've got to be very, very careful not to carry too much speed or take these corners ever so wrong, because if you run slightly wide, and we know how slippy the grass is since the updates, yeah, if you get a wheel slightly on the grass, it'll just spin you around. And this section we're coming through now, if you run too wide and hit that fence, your race is pretty much guaranteed to be over.
Exactly. And then you see that harsh transition back up onto the banking here on the oval. And then there's no bus stop like there is now on the backstretch. There's no chicane coming out of turn number 4 on the oval, that is. There's nothing. It's just completely, almost like Daytona, I guess without the bus stop still. It is just a pure draft track. You're just racing on the oval here.
Yeah, absolutely. As yeah, these cars are coming down the back straight now, and I'll be interested to see what sort of mindset these drivers use at the start of the race. If they'll try and battle each other as hard as possible, or trying to stick behind each other in the slipstream. As these cars are coming up to the start-finish line now, and we should be on the way very soon.
Yeah, we are getting ready to go. Maurizio Nicelli, following the likes of David Gaspers, following Miroslav Juracek to the inside. The green flag will be on his command as the pace car will pull off here onto pit road, making that sharp left turn. We're about to go racing at the Roval. You can see the cars bunching up, and there he goes, the 84 on his way on the loud pedal. The green flag is out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Getting single file down into turn 1. Everyone's got to be careful. Easy on the brakes. They get a little bit onto the grass. Clean through the first top 10. How does the rest of the field look?
Yeah, it looks like everyone's made it through turn 1 without any issues. So far, so good. So everyone's been sensible. But as soon as we get onto this back straight or onto the bank, and this is where the slipstream battles will start to begin.
All these drivers, you can't ignore the slipstream that you can get in the infield as well. Gaspers all over the back of Juracek for the lead. Big gap back to second, though. Nicelli trying to fend off Hugh Haycox and Adam Bradshaw. Back up onto the oval they go. And here we go. Who will lead lap 1? Is Juracek going to be able to keep the lead? You can see him, just like Stevie mentioned, kind of straddling that white line, and to the outside shoots David Gaspers in the 1 car. It's a drag race down the backstretch.
And yeah, Juracek and Gaspers have managed to pull away a little bit from the rest of the pack behind, but it looks like Nicelli is under attack from Haycox. And Juracek trying to go back round the outside of Gaspers, but decides to tuck in behind. There's a bit of bump drafting going on with Hugh Haycox and Adam Bradshaw, and behind these guys as well, we've got Tim Van Dormerlen.
Almost a little bump drafting going on through the corners here. Everyone makes it through lap number 1. David Gaspers will lead that lap. All getting back single file down. Very clean start, Ryan. I was a little bit surprised everyone able to mind their P's and Q's so nicely.
Yeah, it's what we've come to expect in the Weekend Warriors league. Everyone's most of the time really sensible and gives each other a bit of respect and a bit of room. And most of the time they manage to get through the first lap without any issues, but surprisingly this pack is separated a little bit.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that lead draft, and David Gaspers, he's kind of a sitting duck right now in front of Juracek, but behind them, yeah, big gap back. Hugh Haycox is on the move up from 5th to 3rd, and it looks like he still charges forward. Adam Bradshaw, though, he's got Maurizio Naselli all over his rearview mirrors, and now Naselli, who's fallen back a little bit, he's going to bounce to the outside.
Absolutely. Naselli is going to the outside of Bradshaw. He tries to get the run on the outside, but looking further back as well. It looks like everyone's just tucked into line, and just for the moment anyway, everyone's following each other. As I say that, Tim Van Dormelen tries to go around the outside of Adam Bradshaw, and maybe try as on board with Jonathan Madden as well, who's just sitting behind these guys, having a watch and brief.
As we go on board with him, he just set the fastest lap as well with all that draft. Juracek has retaken the lead back up front as well. But this battle continues to heat up. Everyone trying to give each other room here. It gets narrow there. The track looks wide, but there's only so much of that really is racetrack. And there really is only one groove there. You can late apex a couple of these infield turns, though. Madden looks to the inside of Tim Van Dormelen, who looks to the inside of Adam Bradshaw that last turn, but they get back up onto the oval now. Hugh Haycock's at the front of this. Might be a problem further back. Matt Stawicki is in the pits. Must have gone off somewhere. Here we go. Look at this. Things really starting to heat up. Adam Bradshaw onto the apron just a little bit to push Naselli. Naselli's going to give him the inside. 2 by 2 onto the front stretch across the finish line. Down into turn 1. Can they continue this formation? They're going to have to give each other a little bit of space. Right up against the wall. Look at how many cars here, Ryan. It's like a parking lot.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy, and we're only about 5 minutes into this race, and these guys are basically trying to... I thought they were about to go about 3 or 4 wide in the background, but at the moment, everyone's still being sensible. But someone's off in the background. That was Ian Haycock's.
Ian Haycock's off indeed, and a couple other cars as well. The 41 of William Ferry involved in that. And it looks like this... I don't think there was any contact. This looks like a nice case of synchronized spinning. We're going to have to take a look at this. I don't think they made any contact at the beginning of this wreck. I think this was completely coincidental. The only contact that was made there was that Michael Dobeck came in, I think hit one of them. I bet that was actually Larry McLeod that actually came in and hit William Ferry. So the worst contact from all of this is probably going to be Larry in the 33.
Yeah, it looks like Haycock's and one of the other cars just lost it on that bump on the turn-in. It's I know the Spec Racing Forge is notorious that you've kind of got to get the braking done in a straight line and then use the throttle to control the rear. But yeah, Charlotte just proven once again that it can bite you.
And a big wreck on track. Dominic Bureau is in trouble. This was in turn 1, piled into the wall, and everyone came in after that. Simon Mayer, Bob Kerm, Jim McGill also involved in this, as well as others. Jeff Jacobson got a piece. Look at this from above. This was a mess. Like I said, that's the narrowest part of the track, Ryan. That's easy to get a bottleneck through there.
Yeah, it looked like Bureau just missed ran wide and just went offline and missed the apex, and unfortunately there was only one place he was going to end up in, and unfortunately that was in the wall. But on the downside as well, that caused a bit of a concertina effect, and no one had anywhere to go, unfortunately, and just everyone just plowed in.
Gaspers and Juracek continue to leapfrog back and forth for the lead, but behind them, Jonathan Madden from 9th place has moved up to lead this second group of cars. He's up into 3rd. Maurizio Naselli will follow him, then Bradshaw, Doherty, and Van Dormelen. Steve, one thing I was wondering, just another question regarding the cars. We see the 2 different strategies playing out here. We see a line of 5 cars, and then we see the leaders leapfrogging. One of them, I would imagine, saves fuel, and the other one not as much, but they might be a little bit faster. Which one do you think is the better way to go here?
Man, it's hard to say. The two up front are probably a little quicker in the infield, so they got the breakaway. And once you break the draft from the guys behind you, then you can do that leapfrog and keep breaking away. The other guys with a line of 5 and a draft are kind of stuck with that. They can't get away from each other.
Yeah, and another breakaway we might be seeing here is Jonathan Madden and Maurizio Naselli. They might have a little bit of a buffer now between them and Adam Bradshaw behind them. Bradshaw getting a little bit of a push from Doherty back in 5th place. 5th and 6th place they are. But Naselli giving a little bit of a shove to Madden here on the front stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. As they come across the line now, all in a pack, and yeah, it looks like the pack behind Madden and Naselli's closed up again, as Dominic Bureau is leaving the pits after his repairs, but way down the order. But this pack is coming round now, and yeah, that was a question I was going to ask Steve as well. What do you do if someone gets a run on you, especially on a slipstream dependent track such as Charlotte? Do you just let them go, or just try and not defend too hard, but just try and keep the position before the pit stops?
Now, if they've got a run on me, I'm going to let them go and tuck in behind them and let them pull me a little bit. That's the best way to get a little bit quicker anyway.
We saw on track there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, then I was just going to say that I might get a run on them next lap and do it's basically the leapfrogging you're seeing the lead two doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're seeing on screen now as well. And with Maurizio Naselli battling with Adam Bradshaw. Bradshaw looks a little quicker than Naselli in the infield, but Naselli, he's able to get right back at him here on the oval. And now Doherty on the outside of Bradshaw, he's going to have him under fire. And don't forget Van Dormelen, who's there as well on the outside in the 20.
Yeah, as they go just about too wide down the home straight, and down into turn 1, it looks like Doherty is going to be ahead of Brad. Oh, as Doherty loses it a little bit and just manages to save it.
Yeah, Doherty was very loose down into turn 1. He's sliding, and he has got to be very lucky to not have some. He might have some yellow paint on the side of his car, but I don't think he got any. He's lucky he doesn't have more. Maurizio Naselli, I'm noticing, continuing to fall off a little bit. So after starting up in 3rd, just doesn't look like he has the race pace in the pack. That or he's being just a little bit of conservative fuel saving.
Quite possibly. I noticed with Hugh Haycox as well, he fell back from round about the top 4 or top 5, and he's fell back down to P14. So I don't know if Hugh's had issues, maybe technical issues or something like that. But further back in the pack as well, we've got a battle going on between a battle for P8 going on between Maricani, Elson, Shaw, and in the background it looks like we've got Rothkrans as well.
Yeah, this is another tight battle back here. A nice little cluster. Murakami to the inside there of Steven Elson. Michael Shaw way down on the apron. He's going to let Bureau go. That's a lapped traffic car. And Rothkrans, and he's actually going to head into the pits. Erwin Rothkrans back here, overall 10th place, but he is the Spec 2 leader. I believe Jim McGill is the next car in that class, back in 15th. McGill and Antonio Reese actually battling for that spot right now, back in 15th.
Yeah, and Michael Shaw technically going for the Stevie Ray strategy. So I've noticed that with Michael Shaw as well a few times. That as soon as the pit window opens,
Michael Shaw's going to come out in front of a big accident. Sorry to cut you off. Bad timing to leave the pits because Richard Franco and Dan Babbitt got together right in front of Shaw. I don't think Shaw actually got in it. I think he was lucky enough to avoid it. We'll take another look at this. This was heartburn turn before Tums came on board at the track. But regardless, I think Michael Shaw has a little heartburn after being so close to the action there. So now that that's settled down, this is a question I've been wanting to ask Steve for a couple of seasons watching Weekend Warriors. That famous Stevie Ray pit strategy, always being the first one to pit. Talk about that a little bit, and we just saw Michael Shaw use that.
Yeah, Steven Nelson's coming in too. He usually is one of the first ones with me. When we first started this, I wasn't sure about how to cut off the fueling, so I figured out how much fuel per lap I used and how much was going to be required for the whole 40 minutes, and then figured out how much extra fuel I would require in addition to what we start with. So I knew how much that I needed to burn off basically to start with. And then when I came in, I just let the fueler just fill it up, and I don't have to worry about shutting it off. And it just made it easy for me that way. And that's just the way I keep going, is I just figure out how much I got to have and let them fill it up and then go.
Yeah, it's something that we used to see in a lot of oval racing. I think before NASCAR had the stages, when we had a lot more fuel mileage situations, a lot of drivers and crew chiefs would work backwards like that. And, so you finish the race on a pretty empty tank. And a little contact here. Adam Bradshaw has turned Ed Doherty down in NASCAR 3 and 4. And sliding back down the track goes Adam Bradshaw. A little bump drafting gone wrong. This all happened right in front of the 44 of Maurizio Naselli. Ryan, what do you see there in this little confliction?
Just looking at the replay now, and it looks. I think that was a bit silly to do some bump drafting there while you're technically turning left. Basically turning at the same time. That was a bit risky, and I think Naselli tried to bump draft as well, but got it better of it. And that was I would say I would technically have to be Bradshaw's fault. I think that was just a bit risky trying to bump draft at the same time while you were turning.
Steve, is it possible to bump draft safely here at this track, or really any track with these cars, the way they're made?
Yeah, you got to be pretty square on, though. You saw there that Adam came in on his left rear corner, and that's what turned him. But if you're pretty square with the guy, they're pretty safe.
And we're seeing David Gaspers. He's suddenly fallen down just a little bit in the order. Got to look back. He might have had an issue, and he did indeed in the infield section while he was leading. Was actually all by himself. It's going to be a little bit before this, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's coming onto the banking as well, and
we'll see.
It looks fine. He just lost on the brake and over the bump.
Yeah, he was able to slam on all the pedals there and lock himself up, which helped him from spinning out even more, but regardless, he's lost quite a bit of ground, and that leaves Miroslav Juracek all by himself with about a 1 second lead over Jonathan Madden.
Yep, as they come onto the back straight now, and Juracek just under a second in front of Madden, but Naselli and Gaspers are falling back, and Naselli at the moment, it seems to be the person that's able to put up a challenge to Gaspers in the championship, and I think it'll be an interesting battle between those two this season if Naselli can keep up his pace. But don't really Jonathan Madden if he does the whole season as well.
Well, Jonathan Madden, he's closed in half a second on Juracek. I don't know if Juracek's trying to be a little bit conservative, maybe fall back so he has a drafting partner. He is right there for the lead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Juracek's backed off a little bit to try and, like you say, to get a drafting partner, and also on the other hand, maybe try and fuel save a little bit as well. So interesting. If I was Juracek, I would have kept it flat and tried to go as quick as possible and try and maybe maintain that gap a little bit.
Steve, I know you would have pitted by now if you were Juracek, but if you were all by yourself out there in the lead, do you think you would have stayed out and just ran it flat out until you had to come in?
Possibly. Out in the lead, it's kind of hard to come in early like that, but it's hard to say. I probably would still have come in early. That's just my thing.
Watching a little incident by Brian Short here. Driver from the Northwest Club. He was back 24th and just locked it up. That's a good way to go off, though, in turn 1, I'd say. Don't have any contact with the wall there. Just able to get it back going. Just lost some time, but he could have lost his whole car.
Yeah, also it's a good thing it brought up as well. Brian is a first responder as well, so, and also that's what his livery relates to as well. So it's good to see that.
Good to see him having fun in the series, along with everyone else. Looks like we've got a good number of cars. Actually, everyone, all 43 starters still on track, no DNFs. You do get one fast repair, so that has definitely helped a couple of drivers. David Gaspers and Maurizio Naselli, that second group of cars now, vying for a podium position before their pit stop. This is, they have not come in yet. I think the top 18 has yet to come in the pits. So still a lot of drivers that are going to see if they can take this even further. A lot of drivers in this series like to run out the tank as far as they can and then come in and then just have a quick 10 or 15 minute stint. But Ryan, this is a pretty thirsty track for these cars, and I know they're fuel saving, but regardless, they are still burning off quite a bit of fuel.
Yeah, I think it's difficult around this track anyway to try and save as much fuel as possible, just because sometimes you'll be swapping around. Someone's in front of you and then they're behind you and then back in front of you, and so on. So it's difficult to try and save it, like, quite a lot of fuel. I think you possibly around this track you might only be able to save maybe 1 or at a push maybe 2 laps, but further down in the pack as well, we've got this battle going on for 8th position between Dorothy Dobek and also in 10th position Kurt Nunes, and 11th, I was going to say, I think 11th is Fred Desai, but he's further back.
Yeah, Larry McLeod is in that group, but he is a lap down in 36th after his incident. And Ed Doherty involved in a little incident earlier. Good to see him still running in the top 10. He didn't lose too much ground, apparently. He's still here. Michael Dobek getting a little bit of a toe off him. And Kurt Nunez, big race for him. He's had a quiet race, coming from 15th to 10th. I think the biggest mover in the field right now would have to be Fred Desai. Like you said, just back in 11th. He started in 36th. I don't think there's a single scratch on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also a clean car as well, and no dents in it. Quite surprisingly, considering the issues that other drivers have been having as well. But Fred Desai is right behind the Honey Monster, Jim McGill. So, and Jim McGill also, his livery relates to Honey, I believe. So yeah, I prefer to call him the nickname the Honey Monster. So hopefully he doesn't take offence. If he does, I apologise, Jim.
Just over halfway in this race, Jonathan Madden has taken the lead over Juracek. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. We were talking earlier if Juracek was dropping back off the gas just to save some fuel and to get a drafting partner here. I think that's exactly what he's doing, because he has not tried to get around Jonathan Madden for this lead. Madden, though, he is really showing, and there he goes, of course, now that I say that, he goes around the outside here. Madden really showing his pace, really flexing here.
Yeah, considering that Jonathan Madden has been away from the SRF for, I'm not sure how long, but he's been away for a while anyway, and to come back and be straight back on the pace in the SRF after some time away is some going, but at the moment he's putting the leader Juracek under huge pressure.
Take a look at the lap comparison here. Jonathan Madden up at the top, and David Gaspers, who finds himself, remember, back down in 3rd right now. Looks like Gaspers, well, that's pretty close. That gap has closed a little bit, but again, that might be in part to Eurotech dropping back a little bit a couple laps ago. Gasper's 1.4 back from the leaders. Maurizio Naselli has found himself back in 4th place, so he fell back to 7th or 8th at the very beginning of this thing, and a couple drivers to attrition. He finds himself back in 4th, but not quite really in the tow of David Gasper. So these are two drivers. They're not working together nearly as much as Eurotech and Madden are.
Yeah, and also I was just looking as well. Gaspers is starting to close that gap down to the top two in front quite quickly as well. And it looks like Gaspers is on the infield section anyway is slightly quicker than Naselli. So it seems to be as Eurosec has dived into the pits.
He has indeed. He's the first of our leaders to come into the pits. A long, slow 45-mile-an-hour pace down the NASCAR pit road here, and all the way up at the front. He's got a nice view of the Porsche, he's having a bad day. Able to get back on the track pretty cleanly. No one, well, there is someone right behind him, but he's able to get back on cleanly. That's going to promote Jonathan Madden to the lead. Gaspers is still about 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds behind. Naselli is the one that's about 2 seconds back. And like we just mentioned, Ryan, not much fuel saving anymore between these top three. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them come in this lap or very soon after.
Yeah, the top three just coming around the bank and now, and yeah, I'll be interested to see if these guys, the top three, pit on this lap, pit at the end of this lap, or if they try and go for another lap. But there's no one in front of them, and Naselli's going around outside of Gaspers, or trying to go around outside of Gaspers, and it looks like Gaspers and Naselli and Gaspers into the pits, but Madden decides to go around for another lap.
Yeah, Madden went around for another lap. That kind of surprised me. Gaspers and Naselli didn't surprise me nearly as much. Naselli was to the outside. He showed no intention of pitting there, but that's going to put him up to second. Van Dormelen is coming around turn number 1 right now to take that 3rd position. Your time in the pits here is going to be critical as a little bit of a battle for what is now 4th place going on. Erwin Rotkrins and Chris Murakami. You see there the comparison between Gaspers and Eurotech's pit stop. A little bit quicker for Eurotech, both in the box and in the lane. Quite a bit quicker, actually. Not going to be good enough, though, because it looks like Gaspers has come out ahead of him.
Yeah,
Eurotech, I think, found some lap traffic to deal with.
Yeah, Gaspers is well ahead. So David Gaspers again, this showing why he's one of the best in the SRF. He might be quick, but also when it comes to the pit stops, he does a good job as Rotkrins and Murakami are fighting each other coming down the back straight. I think these two, or one of these two, should be in the pits by the end of this lap, I think.
And Jonathan Madden really hot into the pits. He almost took out that yellow entry cone. But he has coming down into the pits, as well as Maurizio Naselli right behind him in the 44 machine. So let's see where these two drivers come out in comparison to Gaspers. He had a slower stop than the leader, than Miroslav Eurotech, but he wasn't able to come, but Gaspers came out quite a bit ahead of him. So Jonathan Madden in the pits here, and he'll have pretty much identical times to David Gaspers, maybe a little bit longer in the lane, quite a bit longer in the lane. And he was very slow coming into the pits because of how hard he had to get on the brakes. And you might have seen out of the corner of your eye Maurizio Naselli getting the car a little bit sideways at the exit of pit road as well.
Yeah, so it just it shows that these guys are pushing as much as possible as Macarivi runs a little bit wide, but behind him is Naselli. Obviously, Macarivi still needs to make his pit stop, so he'll fall further back. But at the moment, it seems to be John Madden that seems to have the upper hand after the pit stops, but not far behind him is David Gaspers. So I have to say this battle for the win, I think it could be between Madden and Gaspers, as Naselli and Eurosec have fallen slightly behind a little bit.
Running on board with Lundgren's now looking back. Will he dive into the pits here? No, but yes, he will, and so will Chris Murakami behind him. But back up front, yep, Jonathan Madden, or what will be up front. Jonathan Madden and, oh, David Gaspers. Madden was trying to break the slipstream coming into 3. He went way up to the wall, almost lost it underneath himself. He's able to hold on to it, though. So this is a battle we haven't seen yet, because Gaspers, remember, fell out of contention early in this race, but now he's back after making a little bit of a mistake in the infield.
Yep, as these two come around the infield section, and it looks like Naselli and Jurasek have fallen behind a lot. So these two, by the looks of it, will be these two battling for the win. But if they keep holding each other up, it'll give the Naselli a chance to possibly close in on these two.
You can see Madden going a little bit wide there, kicking up this dirt. Driving extra aggressive to try to maintain reach of him within the infield. Steve, I gotta ask you, I haven't driven the SRF on a lot of these big draft tracks like the Charlotte Roval, but when it comes to where David Gaspers and Jonathan Madden are for leading this thing, now you see them go side by side. Do you want to be first or second on the last lap?
I think you probably want to be second and close enough for the draft to pull up and go around in turn 3 and 4 NASCAR. But I think if you're leading, you're kind of a sitting duck for the last turn pass.
Yeah, it's hard to tell in my opinion, because here you have what we just saw was Jonathan Madden in second place. We saw Gaspers drop back, get jumped by Madden, and then they swapped a second time. So whether you're first or second, we know now that they're capable of swapping at least twice. So it's going to be hard to tell. You're just going to have a really good last lap here, assuming that you're in the picture.
Yeah, you're going to have a perfect exit out of the last couple corners.
So that's the battle for first. Meanwhile, Maurizio Naselli all by himself back for third. Yeah, Miroslav Juracek, not sure what happened, but he finds himself all by himself as well, back for fourth place. He has fallen out big time. Behind them, though, still battling for P6, and Ryan, you've got that battle.
The battle for P6 is going on at the moment between Van Dormelen and Michael Shaw, and Michael Shaw's been having a pretty quiet race. He's not had any issues from what I've seen so far. He's just been keeping quiet and just keeping out of trouble, and at the moment, I think I stand to be corrected, but if he finishes where he is at the moment, in top 6 or top 7, I think that will be his best result of the season so far, or one of his best results of the season.
Oh, a little bit of contact there between Dormelin and Shaw. Gotta hold on to it, but of course you want to be extra aggressive here at the end. Less than 10 minutes left now. I don't know if the bump and run is going to work on, I guess this would be a super speedway for these cars. I think your best bet is going to be, like Steve said, to wind up for that slingshot on the last lap.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't think a bump and run would work in the SRF, but considering how light the car is, I guess if you tried that, you'd probably just get rolled over most of the time. But yeah, these guys have been battling pretty much, or close together pretty much, after the pit stop, and Shaw at the moment tried to do a bump and run, and that just about went terribly wrong.
A little bit of a gap now between Van Dormelen and Shaw. Looks like Tim's been able to pull a little bit of a buffer, but you can see here just how powerful that slipstream is. And while that's going on, don't forget about the top two who are headed into turn number 1 right now. Gaspers is currently ahead of Madden. I don't know, Ryan. I don't know if you want to be right where Gaspers is now or where Madden is. But regardless, you got to be perfect here. And you see a little bit of a slide. I think Madden's better in the infield section. And I don't know if he's as quick on the oval, but he's definitely aggressive.
Absolutely. I think I don't know. I don't know if you want to try and go for it as soon as you get onto the banking and try and get a slip through and get by. I think after the banking, when you go flat, if you're still in the slip scene, that's when you make the move and try to go around the outside or on the inside and try and hold it. But yeah, we know how good David Gaspers is in the SRF, so I think Mr. Gaspers might have a few tricks up his sleeve.
There goes Madden, this time down at the inside. Gasper is going to give him a little bit of room. And a big problem back in the infield. That's the 76 of Fred Desai, our hard charger of this race, and he's going to fall back and lose some positions here. Let's see what happened. Didn't catch this one.
The replay is on the screen now, and is it going to be the bump? Yeah, he gets caught out in the bump and just loses the car and has to. Ooh, as Jerry McAreevy just managed to avoid him, and yeah, that was good. Good awareness from Fred as well. He managed to get it off the track and not cause any issues for cars coming by.
Definitely had to have some heads-up driving there. As the leaders continuing to go back and forth, but this time in the infield, Gasper's sliding the car around just a little bit. They are trying to get every inch of track out there. Madden tucked up right underneath them as they come back onto the oval. Now he shoots to the outside, but he's not going to have the momentum. He's going to try to come back down into the groove and get the slingshot done. Let's watch this. He's going to go to the inside. So now is Madden going to be able to back off a little bit and try to slingshot him before the finish line? That's going to be the key on the last lap.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. It's you've got to make a choice. What do? Do you sit behind, or you going into the last lap, or do you try and go for a move straight away? It's I don't know what I would do.
And there you saw Gasper's definitely had the oomph to get around him. So he's there. We've got 5 minutes and 20 seconds left. Still a battle going on for 6th place. Michael Shaw currently, he just got around Van Dormelen on this last lap. They are in a pretty much identical situation. I don't know if they even know what their strategy is going to be on the last lap.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think anytime I've raced in the SRF and there's always been a slipstream battle, I try and, with maybe 2 or 3 laps remaining, I try and plan what I'm going to do. If I get close to someone, I try and stay behind them heading into the last lap, and then if I'm heading into a straight onto the straight on the last lap behind someone and I'm really close, that's when I pull the trigger and pounce.
They're going to have to pounce all right. The question is going to be who is going to be the prey. They're side by side for the lead. Just like they're side by side back there. Gasper's on the outside of Jonathan Madden. Gasper's has continually had the lead at the line. And I know that that could change at any moment, but if this pace keeps up and they keep swapping twice per lap, I think Gasper's might have the tiny favor bit right now. Unless Madden is taking notes, and I'm sure he is, he might be coming up with a plan. And a little bit of a wiggle, big wiggle from Gasper's. He's going to go off track into the infield. He's going to hop over the curbs. That is going to be a huge advantage to Jonathan Madden. That might be game over for Gasper's.
Yeah, as they're going to the replay now, and oh, that was unfortunate for David. He just lost it. I think he just clipped that grass a little bit, and like I mentioned before, that grass is so slippy, and unfortunately got sideways. But David luckily managed to hold it as he come round this mini banking, and yeah, Gasper's just lost it, clips the grass, and has to go off track, and he got some big front end damage after going over that bump.
And I definitely think he's low on power. It might be just, well, he might not be. Looks like he's getting back up to speed here. Just a little bit of aero damage. You can see it kind of crumbled up. Yeah, in terms of speed, pretty good for Gasper's. He's going through the turn right now. So it's not impossible, but right now it's looking pretty good for Jonathan Madden. With that, let's turn our attention back to 6th place. Michael Shaw and Tim Van Dormelen. Michael Shaw continues to lead this one. Same situation here. They kind of swapped twice this past lap around.
Yep, there's this battle between Shaw and Van Dormelen's has been pretty close for after the pit stops as well. These guys have not been given each other an inch, and they've been racing each other hard, but giving each other plenty of respect. And I think at the moment, if judging by this battle, I think the advantage at the moment is Van Dormelen, because he can just sit behind going into the last lap, and if he's close enough on the banking on the last lap, he could use that slipstream and make a move.
He's going to have to come up with something here because time is running out. I think they're just going to have 2 to go here. It depends on where Madden is. It's going to be close. He's also got lap traffic ahead of him that actually helped him get a little bit faster. That's about a 5-mile-an-hour advantage he got with that lap traffic from Simon Mayer and Yuangzi Lin. And with 1:16 left, I'm not sure where we stand on the last lap. Looks like 2 laps to go. I don't think he got it quite in time. But Steve, the one thing I'm wondering about is fuel. Sure, they came in, but these drivers, they have not had nearly as much draft help in the second half of this race as they might have anticipated. Do you think these drivers are going to be struggling with fuel here late in the race?
Yeah, if they fueled light, counting on some draft that they're not getting, we could very well see a few of them run out on the last lap.
And I also saw you mentioned that one thing Gaspers is dealing with now is Naselli. He might be able to catch him, and that might be because of that damage weighing so heavily on him.
Yeah, that body damage is going to slow David down quite a bit when he gets up on the oval, and that just might give Naselli just enough. If he can get up close enough and sniff the draft, Naselli might get him.
Jonathan Madden. He's got a lot of draft help with lap traffic. That was Paul Barbuza. He's just got by there. Comes across the line for the white flag just in time. 1 more lap to go for Madden, and that's just 2.25 miles extra for some of these drivers to make it on fuel. Gonna have to keep our eyes on action all over the track. Madden leading. Naselli, I don't know if he's going to be able to get Gaspers, but we've been watching that battle between Shaw and Van Dormelen. Shaw continues to have the advantage now for 6th. Through the infield, Van Dormelen's going to try to get a little slipstream on this straightaway. Not going to be enough. It might reel him in a little. But the big question is going to be what kind of launch he gets back onto the oval. A little bit wide there for Michael Shaw. That's not going to help him. A little bit of a crossover here behind him from Tim. Back onto the oval they go. Meanwhile, Jonathan Madden, will keep an eye on him. He's halfway down the backstretch. Michael Shaw up in front of him. He's going to try to weave just a little bit. Goes to the outside to try to break a little bit of draft. But Jonathan Madden, everything turned in his favor today, and he put on a heck of a show and a heck of a drive. From 9th to 1st, he's going to get the win at Charlotte Motor Speedway. No one's going to catch Gaspers for 2nd. Naselli's going to finish 3rd. But jumping back to this battle for 6th, Van Dormelen has passed Michael Shaw, and I don't think there's enough for Michael Shaw. In fact, he might be running out of fuel here towards the end. So that is how that will figure out. Van Dormelen will get ahead of him. Back in 11th, Hugh Haycox in front of Antonio Reese and Adam Bradshaw. They're going to be 3 wide at the line. Antonio Reese just going to have a nose ahead of Adam Bradshaw. And Hugh Haycox behind him. I think he's also running low on fuel. Jerry McAreevy, who qualified poorly, back in 32nd. He's going to finish strong, though. Jim McGill, again, half a car length over him. That was back for 15th. And I think that is going to be all the battles we have to finish on the lead lap. So a couple drivers running out of fuel, but a couple drivers finishing very strongly. Definitely Jonathan Madden, one of them, getting the win. He's even got enough fuel to do a little bit of a victory lap here. But that'll be it from us today at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We've got full rundown of results and driver interviews when we come back. Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you're just joining us, you just missed a great 40-minute battle between some Spec Racer Fords in the Weekend Warrior Series. The victory goes to Jonathan Madden in the 96. The New England driver, Big Gas, and Fionacelli rounding out your podium 7 seconds back. Miroslav Juracek, your pole sitter, he's going to wind up in 4th, and Steven Elson will round out the top 5. Behind them, Tim Van Dormelen, Michael Shaw, Michael Dobek. Erwin Rotkrins is going to get another Spec 2 victory over Antonio Reese.
Finishing 11th was Adam Bradshaw, 12th was Hugh Haycox, Chris Barrichelli finishes in 13th, Kurt Nunes in 14th, Jerry McAreevy finishes in 15th with Jim McGill in 16th, 17th is Bob Kern, 18th is Emma Orza, 19th is Kenneth Bailey, and rounding out the 20 is Aaron Begley.
Behind them, just 4 more drivers on the lead lap. That was Paolo Brem, Gary Wolbott, Brian Short, who had a big incident, and Tom Gradwell. Behind them, quite a few drivers that finished at least 1 lap down. Well, we've got some drivers to talk to, and I think we all know who we have to start with. It is Jonathan Madden, the victor today. And John, we were so proud of you. We brought in your boss, Stevie Ray.
Oh, Stevie Ray, how are you, man? Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Hey, John, good race. Just want to congratulate you and tell you a great race, bud. And I'll turn you over to the professionals.
Thank you, Stevie.
Well, John, that was a great race, but starting 9th place, talk about your drive forward today. It looked like you were just on rails out there.
Yeah. Qualifying was a bit of an issue. I went out and everybody I paired up with ended up crashing in front of me, so I had no draft partner, and David came out and helped me out, and he ended up crashing himself. So the qualifying didn't go that hot. But I managed to hang in there for, whatever it took, maybe 5 or 6 or 8 laps, and finally got up there to David Miroslav, and and there we went.
Yeah, it looked like you had a great pit stop too. I don't know if you expected to come out where you did in front of David there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I think he pitted either the lap before or 2 laps before. I wasn't entirely sure he was going to come out, but I was happy to see him behind me. He was close. As soon as I came out, I was like, he's going to be close enough to hang with me, and that's what we did.
That's what you did indeed, until it looks like he had a little bit of an incident. I'm sure you would have liked to race it out, but I'm also sure maybe a little bit of relief when you saw that you had a little cushion there at the end.
Yeah. He had a couple issues there during the course of the race, and he was just having a tough time with that corner. It's very difficult. So I was sad to see him go. But then when he did, it was like, okay, I can just, I was trying to plan my strategy and figure out exactly what was gonna take place at the finish. It's been a couple of years since I've raced at this track, so I wasn't entirely sure what I was gonna do yet. So I was mapping it out, but all for naught, just cruised home, and that was that.
Well, despite not racing here in a couple of years, you made it look like this is one of your home tracks. So the way you had a great drive today. So congratulations on that. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a thank you or a shout out to?
No, I just want everybody to be safe and love their families and their friends and take care.
Absolutely. Congratulations, John, on today's victory. Hope to talk to you more in the booth.
Thank you.
That was Jonathan Madden again, your winner, and finishing just short of another victory today. Ryan, you've caught up with David Gaspers.
Yeah, David finishing in second place, but was also close to the win, and unfortunately had that issue in the closing stages. David, that looked like a fantastic race between you and John, but yeah, that was just hard luck in the closing stages. What happened? Okay.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, we were just saying, David, that was a great race between you and Mr. Madden, and unfortunately you had that issue in the closing stages and got that damage. But apart from that, that was a fantastic battle between you and John. How was it from your perspective?
Yeah, I actually had a couple of incidents with race, but that one at the end was a bit annoying. But yeah, it only decided the race a bit earlier then. I'm not sure if I could have beaten him. I didn't race this layout in more than a year as well, so neither of us had any idea where to position ourselves for the last lap. So I guess it would have been a bit random.
Yeah, I have to say, you guys in the early stages seemed to be working. Well, you weren't fighting too hard. Was there a plan in place? Was it just kind of just work together in the early stages and pull away before the pit stops, and then after the pit stops start fighting a bit harder, or what was the plan?
Somehow Miroslav and I had a gap of 2 seconds after the first lap to the third place. I have no idea how that happened, but yeah, so I tried to stay in front of the others, working together with him without letting them catch up. That worked well until I spun in the same corner as in the end of the race. So yeah.
Well, hard luck, okay, David. But I'm sure you'll be back to winning ways. Are you planning to do the rest of the season, or are you just planning to race when you feel like it?
I was planning to do the rest of the season except for Brands Hatch. I actually wanted to drop this week, but I wouldn't reach 9 weeks then, so I had to do this race.
Good stuff. And yeah, before we let you go, David, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to, especially the Mr. Weekend Warrior himself in the booth?
Yeah, thanks, Steve, for organizing all of the league and putting up the sessions every week.
Hey, congrats, David. It's a good race today. I know you wanted the top spot, but good race, bud. And I know you got a little motivation to finish the 9 races of the season, see if anybody can challenge you. So
yeah,
thanks to you.
Thank you.
And there's David Gaspers finishing second today at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. I believe that's all we've got in terms of interviews. But before we sign off for today completely, Stevie, is there anything you want to wrap up with today? It was great to have you in the booth.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Had a lot of fun. Enjoyed seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes and what you guys do. It's you guys do an awesome job.
Great to have you here, and it's always a privilege to be in the booth anytime, but especially for the Weekend Warriors. I don't think we've had a boring day when we get to broadcast this series, but we want to give a special thank you to everyone who came out today for the 4th round in the SRF Weekend Warrior series, including all the drivers who put on the show for us today. We'd also like to thank SimStickers for sponsoring today's event. Don't forget to check them out at simstickers.co.uk. An additional thanks to all the amazing companies that provide the software and hardware that we use to create a GSRC production for you. We also, of course, want to thank the very talented June Lalonde, who provides our music. See the screen for more on how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today in the booth, Ryan, Steve, as well, Joe, and Dougie. Don't forget to check out the GSRC on social media. You can do that at our website on globalsimracingchannel.com. on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, on Instagram at GSRC_Graham, and of course, on our YouTube channel. Head over there. If you don't want to miss a second of racing, hit that big red subscribe button so you can see all those notifications flood in. Make sure to join us and the PRL NASCAR Cup Series tonight at the Last Great Coliseum at Bristol Motor Speedway at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. But to see more of today's great racing in the Weekend Warrior Series, we're going to be back next Sunday, same place, same time, round number 5, another original scan, the Legacy version of Silverstone. Finally, with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast today. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.